Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Brauhaus Bevog once again, who are of course based in Bad Radkersburg, right on the Austrian-Slovenian border, but they are owned by a Slovenian guy, so they're kind of half Austrian, half Slovenian I guess you would say. But for this one we are going to try the Ond Smoked Porter, which comes in at 6.3%, and this beer is rated really highly. It's 97 overall on Rate Beer, 96 within the style, which tells you it should be a really good beer within this Imperial Porter category, I guess you would say. I'm not sure if this one is high enough to be an Imperial Porter right enough, but it should be a very good beer nonetheless. And a huge thank you, of course, to Davor from Slovenia, who sent me this beer along with a few others up there. The ones he sent me so far have been pretty damn awesome, and he told me this is one of his favourites. So Davor, I hope you enjoy the review, and once again, a huge thank you for all the beers. And I hope the rest of you watching in Slovenia and Austria enjoy this review as well. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews I've done from Brauhaus Bevog before. Hopefully I can add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel of course uses a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers for different countries. There is one there for the Slovenian beers that I've done so far, not one for the Austrian, because I haven't reviewed enough Austrian beers of course, but do check out the whiskey and sake reviews as well. And as always, get in touch and let me know some other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review, especially from Austria and Slovenia, because it's these two are countries that you don't hear so much about the beer scene from, but Slovenia I know produces some really damn awesome stuff. But it's always great to hear from you guys, and the support you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brauhaus Bevog then. So Bevog was founded in 2013 by Slovenian Vasja Golar, who was a long-time home brewer before turning professional, as is the case with many home brewers. Of course, a lot of them get that brewing bug and then turn professional. But the brewery, as I mentioned to you, is based in Bad Radkersburg, a small village of about 1,300 people in Styria in southeastern Austria. And this town is a little bit to the southeast of Graz in Austria and a bit to the northeast of Maribor in Slovenia. But the village sits on the Mur River, which separates Austria and Slovenia, and the town is actually twinned with the town of Gornja Radgona on the other side. And of course they're very, very close. I think the river's only like a mile or a kilometre wide or something like that. But Vasja actually chose to open his brewery in Austria because of problems with the bureaucracy in Slovenia, and Bad Radkersburg was actually only 3 kilometres away from his hometown in Slovenia, so really it just made sense to him. But the brewery are actually in an industrial area of the town, but they're only a very short walk from the town centre, and the beer can actually be drank on site. If you go on the brewery website and have a look at the little building they've got, it actually looks really, really quite nice. It's really kind of alpine almost. It looks like one of these little alpine cabin sort of things with a balcony and stuff, but a really nice looking place. And if you find yourself near Graz in Austria or Maribor in Slovenia, it definitely seems to be a place that you should go and check out. They certainly produce some really good beers, but ever since they were founded, they've been expanding their capacity, and they also offer tours of the brewery if you do happen to go and check it out. So if you get the chance, go and have a look at Brauhaus Bevog in Bad Radkersburg. Just to list a few of the other beers you can get from these guys then, in their regular range they've got the Tak Pale Ale, they've got the Ond, which is this guy here, the Smoked Porter, they've got the Crema, which is the IPA, you saw me review that a few videos ago, they've got the Baja and Oatmeal Stout, the Dates, which is a golden ale, the Rudin, which is a black IPA, and they also have the Hagar, which is a barley wine ale. So they've got quite a few different things there. As I say, you can go and check out the brewery website in the description below and see all the different beers that these guys do. They're always producing some kind of random things as well, so I'm sure if you went to the brewery and drank a few, you might find that some rarities from these guys. But yeah, that's enough about the brewery just now. We'll get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So let me just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork of this one. Let me just see. So as I mentioned to you, this guy is a 6.3% smoked porter. It's got American and Slovenian hops in it. And this one is supposed to be, it tells you on the website that this is a robust porter. Just look at the artwork there. It's almost a little bit like kind of Lord of the Rings, or it reminds me a little bit of the kind of the sort of Blind Guardian sort of thing, the German metal band. It really reminds me of the sort of style of artwork that they have on some of their older albums, but really nicely presented. There you can see on the top here, Bevog, this blue, this kind of purpley golden bee actually is the symbol of Bevog, and this one actually has a nice bottle cap on it. I think this must have been done to commemorate the fact that Bevog have started producing cans, of course. So it says on this one, beware of the cansters. So yeah, nicely presented beer. This one, 43 IBUs, 6.3% ABV, and like I said, it's got Austrian and Slovenian hops in it. So yeah, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting. And once again, a huge thank you to Davor for sending this beer to me from Slovenia. So yeah, you can see a nice smoky opening on this one, and we'll get it out and into the glass. And you can smell the smoky notes from this beer immediately as you're pouring it. But look at that, it's kind of poured exactly as you'd expect of a smoked porter. It looks really, really nice. So if I hold this up to the light, it's actually got a good bit of a kind of ruby tinge to it. There's not much head appearing on that beer right enough, but it's definitely a sort of dark ebony rosewood colour. Maybe dark chestnut could be another way to describe this beer, but if you hold it up to the light, it certainly does have a little bit of a ruby edge to it. I'm not sure you guys can really see that on the camera, but it looks very, very nice, this beer. So yeah, there's not much transparency to this one at all, just because of the colour of it. There's a few big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but quite a few little ones just going up towards the head there, but the head is just faded away. It's a very kind of thin foamy layer now, but it's a slightly kind of beige colour actually, but looks really, really quite nice. So let's have a look at the aroma then and see how we get on with this one. Oh yeah, so without sugaring this beer up, you get a lot of the smoky elements coming out of this. Yeah, it does have almost a slightly meaty character to it. Not quite peaty, I'd say. It's not a sort of earthy smoke, as you can sometimes get. As I always say, the German smoke beers tend to be meaty. The Scottish ones that I've had at home tend to be more peaty, and this one does, the smokiness in this beer does seem to lean more towards the meaty side of things for me. There's a bit of chocolate in there, of course. There's a sort of woody or leathery note coming out of this one. You can smell a bit of toasted brown sugar in there as well. Some earthy hop, of course, but the aroma really is dominated by these smoky notes. It's really nice. I have to admit, if I was sort of blind smelling this beer, I maybe could be convinced that it was a Rauch beer. If I just took a glance of it, I maybe could be convinced that it's a sort of darker version of a Rauch beer. Because the sort of porter elements of this beer are a little bit subdued, to be honest. There's not too much in the way of chocolate, but you can pick it up underneath. There's a little bit of the sort of nutty, kind of woody, almost leathery type things going on in this beer as well. Some toasted brown sugars, a bit of chocolate, the earthy hops coming out as well. But really, the nose is kind of dominated by that sort of meaty, smoky character. It really is quite a nice smelling beer, this one. And, you know, just on the basis of the aroma, I can see why Davor says he really likes this one. It smells like a really nice beer. Not much in the way of fruitiness as far as I can gather, but you can, to be honest with you, if you take a little bit of a step back from it, you can pick up that almost German noble hop character. And I have to admit, I do find that Slovenian hops have a very similar aroma to the German ones that I've come across. So Dana, of course, is I think probably the best known Slovenian hop. I think Styrian Goldings, of course, is another one. But it definitely has a little bit of that noble hop character that will be the Slovenian hops. The American ones, of course, do tend to be a little bit more fruity. Maybe they've used Williamette or something in this. It's quite a popular hop, that, for porters and stouts and things like that. But yeah, really nice smelling beer, this one. Take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck in. But let's have a taste of this beer now. So this is the on-smoked porter. Comes in at 6.3% from Brauhaus Bevog in Bad Radkersburg in Austria. Once again, a big thank you to Davor for sending the Slovenian box of beers to me. Slanja na zdravje. It's pretty nice, actually. I can see what they mean, you know, this definitely, you know, usually with a porter beer, they brew it with a lager yeast, so it has a very, very light mouthfeel. That tends to be the key difference between a porter and a stout, of course. Mainly it's the mouthfeel and the type of yeast that they brew it with. But this one is really quite creamy. It's quite an interesting porter, this beer. Yeah, it's really kind of quite, it's very, very smooth, this one. It comes across really nicely. So, The first thing you're going to feel with this one, there's a sort of, it's almost like a pale malty character that goes right across the middle of your palate, except it's a black. It's very light and it's a black malty character. So underneath just underneath the malt base in this one, you can pick up those toasted, roasty, black malt things coming out of this beer. They push their way out as you move further and further into the aftertaste. There's a little bit of chocolate in there, of course. It's a bit of a milky chocolate, I think, rather than a dark chocolate on this one. That comes out again right in the middle of the palate as the taste starts to progress. You can pick up some of the sort of toasted, brown sugary caramel elements coming out of this beer as well. That lingers there and it actually gives it a really nice sweetness. But it's interesting how the sort of smokiness comes out of this beer. It does come across, I was saying with the aroma, it comes across as a bit more meaty, but in the flavour, to me, it comes across as a little bit more earthy and kind of peaty, to be honest. So that's an interesting point to make about this beer. Yeah, there is an element, it's interesting because there is an element of a meaty, smoky character to this one. It's not anywhere near as prominent as the likes of a Rauch beer or something like that. Let's just put that right out of the way. But it does have a nice bit of meaty character to it, but at the same time there's the earthy, sort of slightly grassy, peaty smoke coming out of this one too. So it's interesting how they've kind of combined both of these flavours that you can get from smoke beers in this one. But there is some sort of woody, almost leathery character out of this one. It's not nutty, it is more of a woody, sort of leathery thing going on in this beer, and it really works very well. I have to admit, this one, Davor was telling me, just put this one in the fridge for an hour or two and drink it after that, because you get more complexity out of it, and I can see exactly what he means, because it gives you the slightly thicker mouthfeel, and I think probably that woody and nutty element and some of the smoky characters too, they wouldn't come out quite the same at a really cold temperature than they would at this warmer temperature. Of course, that is one of the things stout beers should be, or darker beers should be drunk at just a slightly higher temperature than IPAs and things like that. But this is good. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. This again, I think I said the same about the last beer, the IPA that I had from these guys, the Krama. I think that this one would make a really nice cask beer actually. Just with that, if you gave that a cask beer and gave it the slightly thicker mouthfeel that it already has, that the cask conditioning would really amplify that with this beer. It would just, it would just be absolutely lovely with that type of conditioning. Be interesting to try it on keg as well and just try it side by side, but of course cask conditioning really isn't something that's very common outside of Scotland, England or Ireland probably. But this is good. I can see why this beer is rated really quite highly, and it's interesting to find a porter that has this slightly thicker mouthfeel. So if you get the chance to try this one, have a go at it. Definitely for fans of smoky beers, it really has a nice element of the peat and meaty character to it as well. It adds that little bit more complexity. So on the sides of the palate, I'm getting a nice earthy bitterness there. It does have a little bit of bitterness to it. It's not smooth in the way that some porters can be. This earthy hops can just be quite smooth. You can pick up a little bit of grassiness, I think, around the front curve of the palate there. There is that, as I was saying, the sort of noble hop character coming out of this one. And then if you just go behind the front curve of the palate, there's a little tiny bit of a sort of red candied fruit ester, maybe a little bit figgy, but that's very, very minimal. It's not paying too much into the flavour of this beer. Yeah, there's just a little bit of that kind of candied red fruity or sort of figgy red fruit ester there. As I always say, you get that little oily bubble behind the front curve of the tongue, and that's where these fruity esters come out of the beer. But this one for me is really quite nice. This would be good for having with a chocolate brownie or something like that. It's a sort of, this is a dessert beer. You're obviously not going to session this one, but this would go really quite well as a dessert beer. Or probably, since it's got the smoky on it, maybe be better to have this with like a pork roast or roast beef or something like that. It would go really well with that type of food pairing. But it's a really good beer, and I can see why it's got the rating it does. I can see why Davor enjoys this one. And for me, it would be interesting to try it with the cask conditioning. In terms of the mouthfeel, this one, I'd say this guy is mid-bodied. It's actually got a kind of creamy mouthfeel. It's almost got the same mouthfeel as a stout, to be honest with you. The carbonation is kind of moderate. It's got a little bit of a prickle to it. The malt base has a bit of sweetness in there, but it actually, as you move into the aftertaste, it starts to become more bitter, and it's the roasted black malt characters that come out. The hops they start off a little bit bitter, then they just smooth out, and you've got a wee tiny bit of a juicy fruity character in there as well. The malt base has the sweetness, as I say, from a little bit of the caramel and a little bit of the chocolate, and the smoky character is just lingering in there as well. It really, this beer, it just kind of blows, it just kind of blends well together. I was going to say it doesn't blow your mind in terms of something being very punchy in the flavour or anything like that. It's more about how the beers sort of blend together, and it's got a good complexity of flavour. So for me, it really is quite a nice, interesting beer to try. So yeah, if you get the chance to try this one, make sure you try the On from Brauhaus Bevog in Bad Radkersburg in Austria. So a huge thank you once again to Davor for sending this beer. If you like smoky beers, this one could be right up your street. If you like a sort of roasted black malty porter, if you enjoy your robust porters, and I think you are going to enjoy this one. But for me, what's interesting about this one in particular is that little bit of peaty but also meaty smoke that this beer has. It gives this porter something that's just a little bit different from some of the other ones that I've tried, and I can see why it is rated so highly on Rate Beer. It has that added complexity that you would quite enjoy from this style, and the mouthfeel, of course, is quite different too. So yeah, really nice beer from Brauhaus Bevog. As always, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share. Make sure you check out all my usual social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys, as I said. But once again, a huge thank you to Davor for sending this one up to me. The On Smoked Porter from Brauhaus Bevog in Bad Radkersburg on the border with Austria and Slovenia. Until the next time, na zdravje, and I will catch you soon with more Slovenian beers. Cheers.